Hey everyone. Today we're going to peek under the hood of something a little different, a Bible reading plan. But this isn't just any plan. It's one that uses some really slick math to solve a very, very human problem. The challenge of actually sticking with something for 365 straight days. Let's dive in. So let's start with a question I think a lot of us can relate to. Why do most Bible in a year plans just fizzle out? You start in January, you're full of energy, you're crushing Genesis, and then bam, you hit a wall. For a lot of people, that wall is named Leviticus. It's a super common story, but what if the problem isn't your willpower? What if the plan itself is actually designed to fail? And this really gets to the heart of it. On the left, you've got the old way of doing things, a static checklist. You just read from point A to point B. It's simple, sure, but it's what leads to that reading fatigue we were just talking about. On the right is a whole new approach. It's dynamic, it's parallel, it's literally engineered for consistency. This is the logic behind an app called KJV365, and we're about to break down exactly how it works. Okay, first up, let's talk about getting a balanced spiritual diet. This part of the algorithm is designed to tackle that number one reason people quit, the Leviticus fatigue. Right? That feeling you get when you've been reading dense, legal texts or super long genealogies for weeks on end. It just kills your momentum. So, how does this app fix that? Well, instead of making you slog through from cover to cover in a straight line, the algorithm runs 4 reading tracks at the same time. Think of it like a balanced meal. Every single day, you get a little bit from 4 different spiritual food groups. You get history from the Old Testament, the gospel from the New, worship from the Psalms, and a dose of wisdom from Proverbs. It keeps everything fresh and way more engaging day after day. Now, here's where things get really clever, because the algorithm treats one of those tracks, Proverbs, in a very special way. It uses a neat little math trick to turn the Book of Wisdom from something you read once into a daily repeating habit. And the secret sauce for this is something called the modulo operator. Now, don't let the technical name scare you. It's actually super simple. All it does is find the remainder after you divide one number by another. So in this case, the app takes the day of the year, say day 32, and divides it by 31, because there are 31 chapters in Proverbs. The remainder is 1, so on day 32, you read Proverbs chapter 1 again. It creates this perfect repeating cycle. And the result of that one little bit of code? It's incredible. Because of this constant loop, you don't just read Proverbs one time, you actually end up reading the entire book almost 12 times in a single year. You're just constantly marinating in it. And this isn't just a gimmick. There's a very clear goal behind this design choice. It's all engineered, as the source material puts it, for maximum wisdom retention. The whole point is that repetition is what makes wisdom stick. It becomes a deeply ingrained part of your daily life. Okay, but that cool loop for Proverbs creates a new puzzle, right? If Proverbs is always looping, how in the world do you manage the other 3 tracks, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and Psalms, so that they all finish at the exact same time on day 365? Well, this is where the precision engineering really kicks in. The goal is what the developers call a perfect landing. You don't want any weird gaps where you finish one book weeks ahead of the others. And you definitely don't want to be cramming hundreds of pages in the last week of December. The whole system is calibrated so that you read the final verse of Malachi, the final verse of Revelation, and the final verse of Psalm 150, all on the very same day. And this is how it pulls off that perfect landing. It's actually beautiful in its simplicity. The algorithm just calculates a specific daily reading ratio for each track. It takes the total number of chapters and divides it by 365. So every day you're assigned about 2.5 chapters from the Old Testament, a little less than 3/4 of a chapter from the New, and just under half a psalm. It perfectly distributes the load for a smooth, consistent pace all year long. So we've got the pacing engineered perfectly. But what about the little things? The daily friction and anxiety that can make you want to quit any new habit? Well, let's look at the final touches. A couple of smart features designed to make the daily experience as smooth as possible. There are 2 big ones. First, the app actually knows what you're reading. It can tell if it's a historical story, a prophetic book, or a letter, and it gently changes the interface to help your brain switch gears. And second, it solves the biggest daily question: how long is this going to take? It analyzes the exact word count for the day and gives you a precise time estimate. And that second feature is a total game changer for anyone with a busy life. Before you even open the book, you know if you're looking at a quick 5-minute read or if you need to set aside a solid 15 minutes. That predictability makes it so much easier to fit this habit into the cracks of your day. So let's pull it all together. These aren't just a bunch of random features. They all work together as one cohesive, smart pacing engine. You get that balanced diet every day. You get the constant loop of wisdom. You get a pace that's perfectly engineered to finish on time. And you get an intelligent assistant that makes the whole process easier. It's a system built from the ground up to help you succeed. Which brings us to one last big idea to chew on. We've seen how code and algorithms can engineer consistency and balance and pace, but it leaves you with this really fascinating question. Can an algorithm actually engineer devotion? It's something to think about, right there at that cool intersection where precision technology meets our own personal spiritual growth.